there is a regimen that's worked quite well for a lot of our customers, and that is if you were to have a glance at our whole food multivitamin, it's called Spectra. Spectra 1 and 2, it actually comes in two parts. If you look at Spectra 1, it's a whole food multivitamin, so it contains all the cofactors in there in addition to the micronutrients, which would be exceptional for a prenatal protocol. In addition to that, the second part, Spectra 2, is going to have oils specifically that will actually help better absorb those micronutrients. Some particular fatty acids and also some minerals, vitamin D3, K2, and another, E is in there as well.
Yeah, so all the oil solubles are in Vista 2, and all the water solubles are in, all of the oil solubles are in Spectra 2.
Right.
All of the vitamins and some minerals are in Spectra 1. And as you mentioned, this is not only whole food, it's organic, right? They're organically grown on the farm, they're certified. It is the first of its kind, by the way. It's a great prenatal because it is organic, it's whole food, and it provides the full gamut of both water and oil solubles.
I've often heard you recommend both Moores and Epic. The protocol will suggest is you'll do a Spectra 1 and 2 on one day, and then on the alternate days or the following day you would do Moores and Epic. And what's your main reasoning behind that?
Yeah.
Because I've heard you often suggest that.
Yeah, and I love that suggestion. So in that suggestion, if you just pick a Monday to start with Spectra 1 and 2, Tuesday become Moores and Epic, and then you go back to Spectra 1 and 2, and you just continue that pattern. Why I did that is because we mentioned that all of the organic nutrients, broad spectrum, all the oil-soluble and water-soluble B vitamins, as well as some minerals, that's provided by Spectra 1 and 2. What Moores and Epic provide are the vitamins and some of the minerals that are further down the cellular pathway. Now, the cellular pathway means when you eat a vitamin, it goes through a number of processes before it becomes the final vitamin. For example, let's take folates, right? Folic acid. Folic acid is the simplistic form of folates. In the plant, it's a folate that is glutamated. In Moores, it's methyl tetrahydrofolate, 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate. So it is the final product of the vitamin that is used by the cell. So what we're doing is we're providing a lot of the nutrients in a very basic, raw, organic form. And with Moores and Epic, we're providing them at their final form where they do their work inside the cell. So they're finished being processed. So your body doesn't have to spend all that energy converting them into 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate or riboflavin 5-phosphate or some of the other, zinc gluconates and so on. They're in their final form. So what we do is we're now providing the tissue some core beginning nutrients as well as the finished nutrients so that we've covered all the pathways.
Gotcha.
That's why I do that. And you rotate them. And that also gets the levels up high enough that it matches any or surpasses any prenatal that they've already been recommended. And now in addition to these things, we want to add in a good probiotic. We add in MBC because we know probiotics drive a healthy behavior of a pregnant mom. And we know, I can't go into detail today, but it's an amazing phenomenon what happens with the microbiome over the growth of this new baby. So we provide a probiotic. Ours is MBC. We also want to start providing, if not in the beginning, at least before the third trimester, we want to start providing DHA and EPA in the form of algae or RPM. Algae is the algae form of omega-3s, DHA and EPA, and the RPM is the krill form, the phospholipid form of those two. Either one is beneficial in that case. And they provide the DHA and the EPA that's needed for brain development and neurological development in that third trimester and when they're young. We'll get to that in a minute. That's part of the prenatal regimen right there is Moores, Epic, Spectra 1, Spectra 2, MBC, algae and or RPM. That's the core. That's the core nutritive environment for that developing young person.
So when you look at the variety of oils, so we mentioned Spectra 2, and that's predominantly omega-6.
Yeah, those are plant-based oils.
Plant-based oils, and then you also have the krill oil in RPM, which is going to help with inflammation.
Right.
In addition to that, you have algae, which is the highest in the DHA and EPA when you're looking at the brain development of the baby. So what are the advantages of having just the variety of oils?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know there's a lot of controversy around oils because once we latch onto a concept, whether it be the plant or parent omega-3s or omega-6s or the fish, krill, algae-based omega-3s, DHA, EPA, DPA, they all have amazing benefits. So where your intellect comes in is there's a time and a place for all of them. The vast majority of the bulk of the oils we should be getting in our diet are plant-based. And there's a couple of ratios that you hear, like for the heart, it's 4-to-1, 4 omega-6 to 1 omega-3. For brain development, it might be 6-to-1, and for other tissues. So just take that as a loose guideline. Now, when they're developing, when their brain's developing, you might be able to bring that all the way up to a 1-to-1, right? So one serving of omega-3s and 6s from plants and one serving from the DHA and EPA, because brain development needs a lot of those omega-3s, the DHA, EPA. As they're born and as they're growing, we can start shifting that ratio up. There's always a way to think it through from a clinician's perspective. When you're taking a lot of fish oils for a while, you want to stop and rotate in the plant oils for a while, and then interject fish oils, once a month. There's another way to think of ratios. Once you have a healthy person, and I'm moving out of prenatal, or even the mom. Let's just take the mom, for example. If she's she's eating well, she's dealing with this protocol, she's taking the Moore's Epic, and she's really doing well with this protocol, she can say, okay, I feel like I'm getting all these oils in nicely. She could even do a 4-to-1 based on weeks. She could do 3 weeks of taking the Spectra 2, which is plant-based, 1 week of taking the algae, the RPM. That's a 4-to-1 ratio. So there's ways to play with these ratios to really drive the health and to give the body what it needs when it needs it. And you also, in that sense, circumvent this issue of people that are on high doses for too long. And I know that's a concern for many of you. That's easy to get around. You cycle your oils like you would other nutrients. You cycle probiotics. You cycle some of the prebiotics. It gives that diversity. And that's what I recommend doing with these oils, especially when you're doing everything else right and you're not deficient in oils. And remember, there's testing that can be done. There can be blood tests for omega-3s that you can see where you're at, and you can cycle accordingly. If you're low on DHA, EPA, you can bring them up for a while and cycle the plants back in and get those up. I'm trying not to make it complicated. It's a really easy game. Think of 4-to-1 ratios. Get the plants up, bring in the fish oils. And during the third trimester, get those fish oils up to maybe a 1-to-1 for a while, or 2-to-1.
A lot of clients love our MBC.
Yeah.
For different reasons, and because it's so therapeutic, the potency is very high. You have 10 different strains of probiotics.
Yeah.
It's 100 billion CFU per serving.
Yeah.
In regards to prenatal or kids
Young,
and their
young,
development, very young.
Yeah.
I mean, what would be the recommended dose for prenatal of the MBC from your perspective?
Yeah, you and I talked about this, and that's a really great question to address, because I know people struggle. Strong probiotics, just like strong prebiotics, can create gastrointestinal distress sometimes, right? Especially when you're on them for long periods of time, those things ease, but now you're also on the same organisms for a while, so you want to rotate them. So again, first and foremost, for young people or even for moms, you can empty the capsule into a drink of choice, or a smoothie or something. Empty it in there. Right. That causes it to distribute from the mouth all the way down. When it's in a capsule and you're taking it by a capsule, which is good for some people, that just concentrates it into the small intestine, because that capsule is acid resistant. But when you open it up and put it in a smoothie, or a couple capsules in a smoothie, the serving size, you're now distributing it from your mouth and all the way through the stomach, and it helps broaden the dose out through a higher volume. So it essentially dilutes it. That can be much more gentle on the GI for a lot of people, young people especially. So you empty it into something that, some healthy smoothie, or, whatever they're eating that you can, because it doesn't taste too bad.
No.
You stir it in, they eat it. That's a good way to distribute the probiotics, especially the powerful ones. And you find that they'll get less GI discomfort in that process. And then as we get older, we can get back to the capsules as we get older and want to do some targeted work. And we'll get to that in a minute. But that's a great question. Opening the capsules is the way to go in that case. Yeah.
Okay.
And always consider once you get into the younger people, always consider a prebiotic to go along with it. It's very helpful. In our case, it's FBR, but there are some other, there's options just on the food world, vegetables and things that act as prebiotics. But a prebiotic helps manage the probiotic all the way down.
So FBR, fibers for intestinal health,
Yeah.
that's 7 grams of fiber per scoop.
Right.
So there should be 30 scoops worth in the container there. So also to help with prenatal health, fiber is very critical during that time.
That's right.
And as far as dosing goes there, these are all sprouted fibers.
Right.
So what would be your suggestion for prenatal protocol if a mom is going to be during pregnancy consuming FBR? Is this something they should start slowly with if they're not accustomed to that much fiber?
Absolutely. And remember, pregnancy brings with it these hormonal changes which can also create issues in the GI, peristaltic issues, water, these hormones regulate a lot of this GI behavior. So sometimes there's a constipation issue, sometimes there's the opposite of that, right? So too much fluid dumping into the colon. Fiber can help regulate that, but you do have to start small. It's a great point. So when you start on your probiotic, MBC, also try just 1/4 of a scoop of fiber. Just 1/4 of a scoop. And try that for a few days, 3, 4, 5 days. And then you can up it to 1/2 a scoop, and then to 3/4 of a scoop, and then finally to a full scoop. Once your body's used to it. And remember, the fiber is just as important as any probiotic because it feeds everything in your GI, not just the probiotics you're eating. And in the process, those guys help you maintain enzyme digestive function. They help you maintain tight junctions. They help you maintain immune response. So the fiber is critical for that piece. And so I would say add that onto the protocol, right? So our protocol now for prenatal is Spectra 1 and 2, Epic Mors, MBC, the oils, krill the krill, RPM, or alg. But now we're looking at fiber. That's something we want to add to the program. That now takes us to the next level of getting that GI healthy. And remember, the mom's immune system is intimately tied to the developing baby's immune system, and that's a great phenomenon. The prebiotics help develop that properly. And help, by the time milk comes in, it's another benefit of eating a good fiber, is the milk production. It uses some of those fibers to create oligosaccharides in breast milk. So there's a lot of great benefits. And I think the final piece to this, something you mentioned earlier, is now we can add one more thing, and that would be maybe some digestive enzymes. They help you with the fiber, they help you with food, and in our case, I think you mentioned Z-gluten. And it contains not only digestive enzymes, but it has a little bit of ginger, things that can help with nausea, and just balancing out that stomach all the way down, right? And the digestive enzymes help work the food you're eating as well as the fiber and other parts of your diet, help metabolize it. It helps the pancreas because it provides all these external enzymes, proteases, amylases, lipases, and so on.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And I think you mentioned that earlier. That's a great add-on. So that pretty rounds out the prenatal, I think.
Awesome.
In the end, yeah.
Yeah.